The thing that I will say to you is when you're evaluating who to work for or you're evaluating someone, right, to bring into your company, you want to make sure you're watching not only the entrance, but you do want to watch the exit because it's very telling about who somebody actually is deep down inside. And people will tell you exactly who they are if you just listen and if you just give them the opportunity. Character absolutely always shows up after the no. We see it when we reject candidates, even after a first 10-minute preliminary interview. We'll see a very angry reply. We're like, oh, bullet dodged, right? So you have to understand, like, people's reaction to no will tell you everything about their character. And this is something that you should take to heart as well. Like, how do you react when you are told no? Hello, everyone. Micah Smith here. I am back with another episode of Rebuild and Rise. So what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the real struggle behind the scenes of being an entrepreneur, of being a founder, of being a president of a company, of knowing which way to turn your ship and the navigating the ups and the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly, because, right, you see what you see on social media. And I'm going to tell you that behind the scenes, things are oftentimes a lot more challenging than you would ever realize. So I want to talk about something that was very challenging that I recently went through. So one of the biggest things that I believe in is I believe in doing my due diligence. And I've learned this the hard way. I come from a background where I tend to be more trusting, and my husband has been very good at helping me understand a principle, which is trust but verify. And to say that this principle is implemented in my business before we hire people is an understatement. So recently, we embarked on hiring. We're always expanding and growing our team and our footprint. And I want to take you back to the moment I knew in my gut that something was off. And so the interviews that I had had with this individual were great. And I vetted them thoroughly, at least I thought. And there's a part in the process where we do background checks and reference checks. And we found it to be very suspect that this individual couldn't produce any recent references from any of their recent jobs. The references were 10, 12, 13 years old, and that had nothing to do with the position itself. And so we asked for references that actually would be apropos to the position that they were applying for. So they came up with a couple of names, a couple of emails. So we reached out. And so our check the box part was satisfied, if you will. We felt no reason to dig any further until this happened. So this person was put into a position where they were expected to lead, manage, and do things above and beyond than that of a standard rep within the organization. And so what we found extremely interesting and quite worrying was their temperament on the floor with the reps and the temperament with myself and how quickly they were adapting, learning, applying their knowledge to what it was that we were teaching them. And on top of that, it was the non-adherence to protocols and dismissing the authority figures in my company in a way that was alarming. And so we brought this to the attention of this individual, and the responses were not like, oh, sure, let me try this way. It was very defensive, and this is how I operate. And maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. But again, I'm always trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, just because I'm like, listen, we all come from a different background. So not everybody communicates the same way. Some people are more outgoing than others. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just see how they do. And I wanted to give them a little more time. Well, I gave them time. And here's the problem with giving somebody time. You have to understand, when somebody joins an organization, they typically are putting their best foot forward right in the beginning. And so if in the beginning things are already off and shaky, you can't expect it to get better. It's only going to get worse. And so we noticed as time went on that things progressively got worse and worse and worse and worse. And KPIs weren't being hit, and just really nothing was being done whatsoever. And that was when all of a sudden, so you have to do me a favor. So I pay attention to body signs, and I am a God-fearing, God-loving woman, and God is everything to me. And I know when something is off. And it was last week, so I went through a full 6 days of complete and total anxiety because I knew something was incredibly off. And so that's when we started really fishing. So I just want to reiterate, and I heard this from, I forget who it was, maybe it was John Maxwell or maybe it was Grant Cardone, but they had said, the moment you think about firing somebody, fire them. There is no performance improvement plan. The moment you have to put someone on a performance improvement plan, everything should just end, because that just means you're really not aligned. So essentially, when the story stopped holding up, all of a sudden, the digging that we had done started to surface, and things weren't adding up. The person that this individual claimed to be was not the person that they claimed to be. The background that they claimed to have was not the background that they actually had. And it actually came to light that the positions that they claim to have, we have in writing from the sources that they don't know that we check, that they actually never carried those positions, and that the references that they provided weren't even real people at all. And so for me, what's amazing to me about my life is just the divine protection that is put onto me and my business and my company. And luckily, this was very early into the process of hiring this individual. But for us, unimpeachable character is everything. It says it on the job description. Unimpeachable character. If this is you, please apply. And somehow this person felt like they should apply. And, no matter what it is that made this person fabricate this story to try to get this job, no matter what it was that made them do that, if they had just been transparent, we could have built off of that. But with a lack of transparency, and then obviously a lack of outcome, literally nothing came to fruition. Obviously, you can't go anywhere from there. And so it was really interesting. So when I let this person go, it was probably about 18 things that finally just was like, enough is enough. But obviously when the references came back, and then of course the numbers not being hit, just nothing being done literally since they started with me. So once it all came to fruition and we let this individual go, you have to understand something. The response that was received and given to me. So I want to explain something to you. Listen, no one's ever going to be happy when you let them go, but you have to understand the response that someone gives you when you let them go is extremely telling of their character. And my best friend always says, time either exposes you or it promotes you. And that is a fact. So, and I will tell you, we are so discerning, as we are a big, small company, if that makes sense. And we are small, but we make a really big impact. And everything that any person does on the team, it's so important to us. Character is everything, because it's one of our core values. And if that doesn't hold up, how can I expect you to not lie to my clients? How can I expect you to not lie to my partners? How can I expect you to not lie to me moving forward? And it just is beyond me the way that this person responded, but it really exposed who they were. And it wasn't like, thank you so much for the opportunity. Like, what did I do wrong? It was interesting how they viciously attacked my character, my company, my standards, and everything I stood for, just viciously. And here's the one thing that I want people to take away from this. So here's the question. If you've been made to feel like your standards are too high, here's what I want you to know. Standards are a sign of respect. And standards are put in place to protect my clients, my employees, and my company. And if you don't have standards, right? They say that if you believe in nothing, you'll fall for anything. And if you have standards as to what you will and won't allow in your life, then ultimately that is a sign of respect. And you have to understand that. And I didn't want to let this person go. I didn't want to be wrong. I don't like being wrong about people. I mean, I wasn't the only person that interviewed them either. And I'm like, am I crazy? I'm like, how is this happening? Like, how? And I'm like, what is going on? Right. So I want you to understand, like, who actually complains about standards? I'm going to tell you who complains about standards. It's the people who are not interested in ever meeting them. People will meet you where you are and then some if they're meant to be in your circle. And I think about my husband all the time. I think about the people that I dated prior to him. Every person prior to him, I felt unsettled with. But with him, I have absolute peace. And with the other 13 team members that we have in our organization, I have absolute peace and trust. That's a big deal. So the moment I start to feel a lack of peace or a lack of trust, that's when all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second. And I pay attention to that because I know that this business is mine to protect. Like, this isn't mine. It's God's business. I don't work for man. I work for God. So I'm like, okay, God, like, who do you want in your company? And here's one of the biggest questions I have to ask myself when I ask myself about someone that I want to keep on the team. So I did an entire devotional and a training this weekend, and because I was really doing some strong soul searching. And the question is faithfulness. Would you trust this person with what God has given you in faith? Can you trust that this person will faithfully show up and do what is expected? And if the answer is no, then they shouldn't be on your team. And the other verses that were brought to my attention is guard your heart, for all you do flows from it. And we give big to our team members at Mike and Abigail because we love them. And we don't really do like this, oh, don't get too close to me. I don't want to know you. Like, I'm the exact opposite. I want to know everything about you. And so when I bring you into my circle, I have to make sure that you belong there and that it's earned, because again, I have to protect my heart, for everything I do flows from it. And I will tell you, having this person on my team just for an additional few days, it took a lot of emotion, energy, and time away from me, because now instead of pouring into like these thousands of other projects that I literally have looming, I'm sitting here talking and working with someone who is not producing any fruit. And just remember what the Bible talks about. It says you don't judge a tree based off of the fruit that it wants to bear, or that it says it can bear, or that it says it has bared. You judge a tree based off of the fruit that it does bear. And so the one big question that I always have to ask is to make sure I do the reflection. So the most important thing, so if you're in this position, if you're a business owner, if you're an employee, like either way, this goes hand in hand. Employees have terrible employers and employers have terrible employees. Like, it goes both ways. It's just people. You're dealing with people, right? That's all that it comes down to. So you have to ask yourself the question, did I provide them clear expectations? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. Did you sit with them and explain everything in detail? Was there enough training provided? Okay, yes, awesome. Did you try to coach? Yes or no? Yes. Did they correct after given coaching? Yes or no? Right? So you have to go through this checklist of things to determine whether or not, like, you can't just dump people, right? Because sometimes maybe you didn't communicate properly, maybe expectations weren't set properly, maybe if you coach them up, maybe they would be a little bit better. But there's certain things that you can coach and there's certain things that you can't. I can't coach character and I can't coach effort. If those two things don't exist, you don't belong on my team. And that's just a fact. So those are the two absolutes that I cannot do without. Everything else, I can teach you rebuttals, I can teach you how credit works, I can teach you mortgage lingo, I can teach you all that stuff. but I can't teach effort and I can't teach character. And those two things were abundantly lacking in this individual. And we saw it, and we saw it very, very quickly. And instead of owning it, which is what we expect out of our people, instead of owning it, they constantly deflected. And so I think it's really important for anyone who is listening right now, if you're agonizing over what do I do, what do I not do, put yourself through a series of questions and ask yourself, would I trust this individual with my family? Would I trust this individual with my best friend? Would I trust this person if I wasn't in the room? These are really important things that we all need to evaluate. Trust is a big thing. And I think that people underestimate the power of trust. And what happens when it's broken, it's pretty much impossible to get back. And it's really hard to build. So the thing that I will say to you is when you're evaluating who to work for, or you're evaluating someone to bring into your company, you want to make sure you're watching not only the entrance, but you do want to watch the exit, because it's very telling about who somebody actually is deep down inside. And people will tell you exactly who they are if you just listen and if you just give them the opportunity. Character absolutely always shows up after the no. We see it when we reject candidates, even after a first 10-minute preliminary interview. We'll see a very angry reply and we're like, oh, bullet dodged, right? So you have to understand, like, people's reaction to no will tell you everything about their character. And this is something that you should take to heart as well. Like, how do you react when you are told no? So the big thing that I also want you to think about is, what do you feel when you part ways with an individual? Is it peace? Do you miss them? Is it regret? Is it excitement? Is it happiness? And for me, I got my peace back. And what's funny is they signed off on their email and they said, I hope that you get the day that you deserve. And the irony of that is that, listen, I don't think I deserve really anything, but I do think I am blessed and highly favored. And what I begged God for this morning was I begged him for peace, and I got my peace. So I think that would answer how my day turned out. My day turned out pretty freaking stupendously because I got my peace back. And at the end of the day, you can't put a price tag on peace. So here are the three things that I want to wrap up with. One, your standards are never the problem. If they were, your best people would be complaining, and they're not. They're thriving. And that stands true to my company today. My best people are thriving. Ironically enough, my husband asked me about my top executive. He's like, have you ever had problems with her? He's like, did you ever go through this experience with her? And I was like, no. He's like, okay, well, that's the bar. He's like, you don't bring anyone else in or allow them to stay if they don't do what she does. You emulate what works with your most successful people. So that's number one. Number two, watch the exit, not the entrance. Make sure you understand character shows up when the no is given. Believe people when they show you. And number three, understand you can love people and still guard the gate. Grace on the way out. Standards at the door. And if there's anybody listening, like me, who used to carry guilt for holding a high bar, put it down. I'm going to tell you this, you are not too much. You are not difficult. You are not cold. You are a good steward of something that matters. And the peace you feel on the other side of a hard decision, that's not you being ruthless. That's confirmation that you protected exactly what you were supposed to protect. Guys, this is Micah Smith with another episode of Rebuild and Rise. If you liked this episode, please send it to someone who needs to hear it. And please do like and follow, of course, and we'll see you next time. God bless. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like and subscribe. And if there's someone you know that this would help, please share this with them. If you are looking to fix and repair your credit, you can find us at www.micaabigail.com. And if you're looking for more personal stories on myself, you can find me at Fit Credit Doctor. Thanks again for joining, and God bless.